Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Ricky with TechBot Solutions. So a super quick market update. Why did the market all of a sudden begin to recover? And this really began to happen right around almost 1 hour after the market opened. We saw a super quick change of direction with the NASDAQ market, which pretty much sparked this huge push. We saw it with the NASDAQ market, and of course, we saw it with crypto as well. Again, 1 hour after the market opened, a very significant push. Now markets are somewhat overbought and beginning to curl on over and retrace. The news is very straightforward. Trump and Mexico presidents say that tariffs will be delayed for 1 month after talks. So pretty much, like a lot of us know, Trump wanted to use those tariffs as negotiating tactics. He wanted to implement a 25% tariffs on imports from Mexico and from Canada, and pretty much supposedly each president from either side said that they're going to be doing the same thing. Well, obviously, we don't need Canada and Mexico as much as Canada and Mexico needs us in comparison to what they make up in our GDP versus what we make up in theirs. I mean, it's a drastic difference. Nonetheless, Trump wanted to negotiate, at least that's how he presented it as, and he was able to negotiate that they're going to delay this 25% tariff on all imports for 1 month for Mexico after Mexico agrees to ramp up security in its borders. Supposedly, Mexico is going to be sending 10,000 of their own troops of their National Guard to address the drug trafficking from Mexico and U.S., particularly fentanyl. So is this a big win for Trump? Is this a, miss or a loss? You guys can decide, but we know that these tariffs are going to be used time and time again for Trump to be able to negotiate some form of win for America. At least that's how he's presented it before. So again, over the weekend, we talked that we cannot be surprised by Trump talking about these tariffs and implementing these tariffs. This is not a surprise. This is not out of left field. This is something that was well expected. Trump talked about it, so I hope that this kind of correction that we saw over the weekend that are now slightly beginning to recover, in my opinion, I think it's going to be a very rocky road, because if he does implement these tariffs, at one point, the country is not going to want to negotiate or give in to some degree. And if that is the case, then these imports will cost Americans, because these tariffs will always get passed down to the consumer. And it will reflect in our CPI data report. We will see higher rates of inflation and the markets will react. And then the Federal Reserve has to decide what it wants to do. Nonetheless, opportunities will present itself and you have to decide, do you want to continue to go long, or do you want to continue to or begin to size out of your positions if you think markets are overbought enough and maybe due for a slight correction? I'm very excited to follow up. I did just open up another MSTR short during today's live trading session. Feel free to rewatch it if you guys haven't done so. As MSTR ripped up, I opened up short and then I covered at that EMA. It ripped up once again. I opened up short and I began adding more as direction became favorable. There's obviously huge downside potential as Bitcoin can begin to break support. And if it begins to sell off, which it does not have to, let me make that very clear. This is just the day trade. But if Bitcoin does break below that support and begins to get rejected, then so will MSTR. It's not rocket science. When Bitcoin drops, so does MSTR. MSTR is also expected to report earnings on the 5th of February, so on Wednesday of this week after the market closes. I'm not carrying my short overnight. I'm not carrying my short until they report earnings. I do think that they will miss earnings, as MSTR is notorious for missing earnings. They only report like a little shy of $100 million in revenue, yet they're supposedly worth $80 billion when it comes down to market cap. It's an absolute joke of a company, but nonetheless, there's always surprises. If they use the new accounting rule, can they report better or higher than expected earnings? Possibly. Can that cause MSTR to skyrocket? Possibly. And that's not the type of risk that I'm willing to take, right? You guys know that I always just wait for this thing to push up, become very overbought, and then I'll short it when it begins to show signs of reversal. I like to always stay cool, calm, and collected. I like to be calculated with the trades that I take. And again, I like to do it in front of my LPP team. I trade live every single morning, just like today. I shorted MSTR. You get to see every entry, every exit, but most importantly, you get to hear my thought process behind every trade I take, especially with all these tariffs and market volatility that's beginning to present itself. If you feel lost in this market full of chaos, again, I like to keep things simple. And if you like the way that I break things down, I'd encourage you, click that second link in the description down below and join us for tomorrow's live trading session. I appreciate your time. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team.